all is well. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach. Just wanted to jump on this morning and do a little bit of heart work on this beautiful Monday with excellence. We need to do it kind of facing some of our struggles head on, because what I have learned is that when you avoid the hard things, they follow you. It's like they pounce on you. It's like they're constantly trying to trip you up, for lack of a better term. So with that being said, I wanted to talk to you this morning about how to confront negative emotions. How do we confront negative emotions? Well, one of the things that I do as a heart coach, we confront matters of the heart so that you can authentically transform your life, right? And how do you do that? You do that by telling yourself the truth. You do that by acknowledging how you're feeling, acknowledging what is causing you to feel that way, and then being willing to put boundaries in place so that you're able to um, healthily navigate those negative emotions. For example, you may have woke up this morning and got some bad news. Maybe you found out something that was disturbing about your job, and then after you got the news, now you're noticing that your stomach is hurting and you're not feeling good, and then you're doubting yourself. You're worrying, am I going to lose my job? Like, is this going to work out for me? Is this going to be the best thing? You find yourself going down that type of spiral. So what I would encourage you to do is sit down, one, and take a couple deep breaths, right? Like, I'm sitting in traffic right now. Some people might be like, I don't have time for that. I'm sitting in traffic talking to you. So I still see what's going on. Guess what? I still can't go anyplace. It's still traffic, right? So, all right, that's one of the things you do. Take a couple deep breaths. Now, once I do that, I'm thinking more clearly. And it's funny, I take a couple deep breaths and I'm thinking more clearly. And honestly, right at that time, traffic just naturally opened up for me, right? So I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think that that's how life works itself out many times. So when you find yourself experiencing negative emotions, just sit down and take a couple deep breaths. I also want to preface this by saying that I don't believe emotions are inherently bad or good. I believe emotions are like street signs, letting you know where you are and what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and, helping you be aware of how you're navigating the world. Just like I'm driving my car, right? I believe that your emotions, good morning, good morning, good morning. I believe that your emotions are literally like street signs. They're just helping you navigate the world. So when you feel an emotion that you may categorize as negative, then these are some steps that you can do to confront these things. So one of the things just explained to you was take a couple deep breaths, right? 3, 4, 5 deep breaths, 7 rotated breaths in and out, and you will be. Well, let me get back over. You will be very surprised at how that plays out for you, right? And then after you take a couple deep breaths, another thing that I do with my clients that I encourage you to do is I encourage you to sit down and write down what you're feeling. When you write down what you're feeling, you it helps release even more of that emotion and that pain, whatever that is that you're feeling. But you start to gain more clarity on it. I believe, some people call it journaling. I call it a heart dump. But I believe that when you sit down and write down how you're feeling, that raw emotion, then you grow. I'll tell you a quick story. I remember when I first started, like, paying attention to this heart work journey that I'm on, and that I help others work along. And I was really upset with my husband, right? We were out with the kids. We were leaving his mom's house, and he did something, and I got really irritated with him, right? And when I started journaling, I had a journal in the console in the car we were in. And so I was getting ready to say something really mean and nasty to him. I'm just being honest. I don't know if y'all are honest like that, but I'm just being honest. I was getting ready to snap at him and say something mean and nasty to him, but instead I started journaling. And I did write what I wanted to say in that journal. But I also found it interesting that as I kept writing about how I felt and how angry I was at him, I also noticed that I started to write why I was upset and what was triggering it. And at that moment, I became more aware, self aware, not self conscious, but self aware of who I am, how I'm feeling, how I'm wired, how I'm triggered, right? So essentially, what I'm talking about is what triggers you, right? When you get these uncomfortable feelings, what triggered those feelings? And when I started journaling, I realized that he did something in that moment that made me question myself, made me doubt myself. I felt like I wasn't seen. I felt like I wasn't heard by him. I felt like he was being selfish and only focusing on himself and he didn't care about me. But I felt all of those feelings internally. I never said anything to him about it. I never told him anything. But as I started journaling, I was able to gain more clarity even on my own feelings and emotions at that time. So when he got back in the car, and I had been journaling because before he got out the car, I was looking at him and I was ready to go at it. Let me tell y'all something. When I talk to y'all about doing hard work, I'm telling you from a personal experience. Many of these things I'm not telling from theory. I have lived these. I have receipts. You can check my receipts. And I say that to say, when he got back in the car, he was already on guard because he knew I was upset when he had, left the car or whatever. And so when I sat there and I journaled, and what happened was, when he got in the car, I said, when you did this, I felt like it was like, when you said what you said, I felt like you were being selfish and I felt like you didn't care about me. And he was like, that wasn't my intention. And he told me why he did what he did. And in that moment, I realized that I was triggered. What he said triggered me from something in my past, an insecurity that I didn't deal with when it happened. And so it left a wound there. And so anytime something happens that reminds me of that situation, that looks similar to it, smells different similar to it, sounds similar to it, then I get triggered. I get on guard, I get upset, or I might get sad, I might get down, I might get and you might notice that in your life. You might notice that when you go through certain circumstances, when you're around certain people, when certain things happen in your life, you react a certain way. Have you ever really sat down and thought about why? Have you thought about why you get angry or upset? The situations that make you doubt or question yourself? I wanted to talk to you about that because I want you to go in this week strong. And when I say go in this week strong, I mean I want you to go into this week with enthusiasm. I want you to be encouraged that things are going to work out for you. But if you don't deal with the negative, those emotions that make you doubt or question yourself, especially if you're not clear on why, then guess what's going to happen? They're going to control you. They're going to control you. Those emotions are going to control you. And I don't want that to happen to you. So that's why I'm like, this is how you confront negative emotions. Another thing you want to do is be honest about it. When I'm working with my clients, and I talk about this in my book, Help Save Me from My Broken Heart, Your Journey to Living and Loving Again. I didn't realize how much I was a people pleaser, how I was very passive aggressive. When I talk about being passive aggressive, like being the type of person like I wouldn't just come out and say how I feel. I might be indirect about it, right? Oh well, instead of telling somebody I miss them, I haven't seen them in a while, I want to spend more time with them, I'll say things like, oh, you don't have no time for me. You can hang with everybody else, but you can't hang with me. That's passive aggressive. That's passive aggressive behavior, right? Acting like you leaving people out or you forgot about them because you upset with them. Um, your feelings hurt. You don't want to see it, so you're doing little petty things. That's passive aggressive behavior, right? And that's usually triggered by some type of negative emotion, right? So, what I often ask my clients when they're upset, when they're angry, when they're doubting themselves, I'm like, what were you thinking about right before this happened? What were you thinking about right before you started doubting yourself? What was that thought before that? What was that emotion before that? That's why journaling, I think, is so helpful because it gives you an opportunity. It actually works a whole nother side of your brain. You can look this up for yourself, but when you write things down, it works different parts of your brain. So it helps you be able to learn more about yourself and process in a in another way, but a more in depth way, right? And so when you find yourself feeling anxious or worried, when you find yourself feeling jealous or insecure, when you find yourself feeling doubtful or pessimistic, right? When you find yourself self sabotaging, when you know you could have done something and you don't do it, when you know you could have fixed something and you don't fix it, and then it ends up being harder for you or worse for you, or hello, good morning, it ends up being more challenging for you. That's called self sabotage. And many times when we don't believe in ourselves, when we're doubting ourselves, we sabotage our success. We sabotage our lives. We miss deadlines. We don't return calls. We don't respond to emails. We show up late to work. We miss assignments, right? We miss out on things that are important for us, but then we're not honest about that. There's a deep seated feeling that you're not worthy or you're afraid that you're going to fumble it if you get the success anyway. A lot of people are a lot more afraid of success than failure. So, what are we doing? We're confronting negative emotions, we're taking deep breaths, we're journaling, we're telling the truth, right? Another thing you do, get a life coach or get a life coach. Get a accountability partner. Get a group, a support group, a group of people, a person that you can talk to. Get a counselor. Get a therapist. Speak to your spiritual advisor, but don't put too much pressure on these individuals in the sense that they're supposed to fix you, because that's a part of dealing with negative emotions. Nobody can fix you. You're already fixed. You're already whole. But when you confront your negative emotions, it allows you to get to know yourself better. It allows you to be able to show up as a much more wealthy person in the world. Because that's what all of this about. We're growing heart equity, personal, relational, and financial wealth through authentic living, right? And when we do that, we make this world a better place. But we make this world a better place from the inside out. So you find somebody to talk to, and then be willing to slow down. There's another perspective that I have in my life right now, and it's just all from the mindset of the turtle won the race, not the rabbit. And when I talk about the fact that the won the race and not the rabbit, I'm coming from the Aesop's fable. Just this whole idea of we live in a world that's telling us, go, 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 hurry, hurry, hurry. Yes, I do believe we need to be in a sense of urgency. But I think that urgency doesn't have to look like doesn't have to be a rush. You can be urgent, you can be intentional, you can be consistent, and you don't have to rush. And maybe you have to move fast sometimes, but that's not the way life was designed. So I'm encouraging you, slow down. Pay attention to your triggers. What caused you to feel that way? Right before you had that pitting feeling in your stomach, or you tensed up, or right before you had that panic attack, what was going on? What were those thoughts? What were those feelings? What were those emotions? Who called you? Who texted you? What smell did you smell? What sound did you hear? Because a lot of those answers will give you the keys to your life. See, a lot of times we get so focused on trying to be more order for you to truly experience peace and joy and success on the level that I believe that God created you to experience it, you have to be willing to uncover the discrepancies, the insecurities, the breaches, the cracks that are in your foundation. Because many of you, you've been built on a strong foundation, but it's faulty. It has some cracks in it, right? And maybe it's some areas that need repair. One of my trades that I have is I'm a licensed realtor, and I've seen houses and shown houses where there were foundational issues, and fixing a foundation is expensive. But if the foundation isn't right, then so many other things in the house will not be up to par. They will not operate the way they need to operate. And so when I talk about confronting negative emotions, this is about you making sure that your foundation is right. This is about you making sure that you are building a life, that the wealth that you're building, I look at your life like a house, that you are building a home that is secure, and not just secure for you, but secure for generations to come, if that's important to you. And I feel like members of the Heart Tribe, that's important to us. So I encourage you to take this time, because I'm going to go outside. Won't let me be great with all this noise today. I apologize for the volume, but I know the content is good. And if you bear with me through it, I promise if you activate these steps, it's going to absolutely transform your life, right? So take the deep breaths. Take some time to write down what you're feeling, right? Settle down, slow down. Find somebody to talk to, a life coach, a therapist, a counselor, accountability group, one of the above, all of the above. Pay attention to what you were feeling prior to that negative emotion. What happened? What was the thought? What was the trigger, right? And then pray and ask God to show you what to do with this information. How do you healthily deal with these emotions so that they do not sabotage your life? Right? Okay, you got this. Let me go to work. Let me go be great. Y'all go be great. Let me go be great. Y'all go be great. And I'll talk to you later, okay? All right. Love y'all. Have a good day. Adelai Brown, your heart coach, signing out. Remember, when you heal your heart, you transform your life.